important points. One, the city of Afrin is finally in the hands of the Syrian people. And two, it's a city that will now be controlled by Syrian forces. The Syrian flag, the Free Syrian flag, will fly over Afrin. You'll have specially trained Syrian police maintaining order. You have the Free Syrian Army's national army that will protect the city from incursions, attempts by terror groups to re-enter the city and the province. And that's crucial here, this message that this is not an invasion force, this is a force where the local people will finally be able to take control of their lives, of their city and of their province, and will be protected by the Syrians and not a foreign terror group. So that narrative that we heard from President Erdogan is absolutely crucial, and it counters the narrative of the YPG PKK terror group, the fact that they were attempting to convince the rest of the world that Afrin was under invasion. Well, we just saw that the YPG's leadership left with hardly a fight, and now the city is finally in the hands of the Syrian people.
Operation Olive Branch, as we were saying, began on the 20th of January. Since then, the Turkish military says it's neutralized, which means wounded, arrested, or killed more than 3,500 terrorists. Do we actually know the number of fighters that the Turkish military and the FSA has been up against during this operation?
Well, we do know that the YPG, PKK, has certainly taken a very heavy blow. It's been exactly 3 months since the operation began on January 20th, when the Free Syrian Army and the Turkish military approached from opposite ends of Afrin province, from the east and the west, and they were able to meet in the city center of Afrin. We do know from the YPG itself that it's faced a significant amount of casualties. This wasn't easy fighting, especially in the first few weeks of the operation. The Turkish army and the Free Syrian forces were very deliberate. They made it very clear that they were approaching in a very steady manner in order to avoid civilian casualties. And that approach seems to have worked. If you look at the footage coming out of the city of Afrin, it's intact. Compare Afrin city to Raqqa, Mosul, Damascus, Halab, Aleppo. Homs cities have been destroyed by the forces that currently occupy them. The city of Afrin, on the other hand, is intact. We have not really seen any significant civilian casualties. The infrastructure is intact, and that allows the people of Afrin to be in control of their lives once more.
Do we know any details? 24 hours ago, we knew that from the north, east and west, that the FSA and Turkish military were in control of those entry and exit points into Afrin, but that the south was still not under their control. Do we know anything about the southern point now? Because the Turkish military have been saying that could be a way that civilians who want to leave can leave. And then there was also talk that possibly the regime forces of Bashar al-Assad were in control of that southern entry and exit point. Do we know anything about that?
That southern corridor to Afrin city from the northern part of the regime-controlled territory in Aleppo is absolutely important. You have the regime-controlled villages of Nubal and Zahra that have an entry point into Afrin city, also from the area of Tel Rafat. These areas still have remnants of Assad regime militias. This is an area where the YPG PKK terror group has been able to resupply and move some of their forces into Afrin, and it's also an area where they've been able to move some of their forces out. Some of the civilians were attempting to flee from that southern corridor where they were blocked by the YPG. The important issue here is that civilians will be able to finally return to their homes. Their homes are going to be intact, as we saw from the early footage of the Free Syrian Army and the Turkish forces entering Afrin. Their villages, their towns, their homes, their schools are there for them to come back and to resume a normal life. And that's absolutely crucial in order for Afrin to become a normal part of Syria once more.